And now we're actually going to have a chance to go ahead and take a look and see how NRG is going to try and come back after their week #1 performance against Obey, where they found themselves behind. Will it be the same story against Valance Squadron? Well, we've got casters here to let you guys know.
Thanks so much, Taco. And yes, we have casters standing by, myself and Aggro, to take you through this game. NRG going to be up against Valance Squadron here today. NRG, as Taco was just saying there as well, Aggro, 2-0 against Obey in a defeat there. Really important for him to get going now.
If I'm Valance Squadron, I'm like, really, Obey? Did you have to make him this angry for us in our matchup? Oh, yeah. I mean, you see adapting whenever he gets really into it and is ready to go. Just NRG as a whole, they always seem to really ride off momentum, especially whenever they lose. They don't really... there's a reason they hadn't lost a set in over a year. It's because after they lose a game, they usually bounce back in spades and are able to take that game and close out for at least a split. Didn't see that against Obey. I expect to see them coming roaring out of the gates here.
Well, let's go and pick some bands and see exactly how this one starts off. Valance Squadron obviously did pretty well last week as well, so they're off to a good start. Maybe, from my point of view, it's more maybe Valance Squadron get a boon knowing that Obey have beaten them.
That's true.
Maybe the world champs aren't the world champs anymore soon.
Very, very true,
like,
you know.
Maybe just another EU team that's up there.
Yeah, I mean, getting sort of that blueprint on how to beat this team, seeing, okay, this is what Obey did. We can take a little bit of that, throw in a little bit of our own sort of sprinkle, and then really just trying to execute on the same sort of idea of a game plan. And for that, it was really separating iRaffer and then blowing him up before the rest of the team could get there. iRaffer is used to kind of baiting himself and allowing a lot of skills to be used on him, but the positioning with the rest of the team just wasn't there. So it's gonna, that's one of the things I'm going to be really looking at. iRaffer's positioning in relation specifically to the rest of his team.
Ratatoska, Poseidon banned out by Valance Squad, sorry, by NRG up against Valance Squad, I should say here. So Poseidon obviously pretty safe in the mid lane. We've seen a lot of rise of him in Season 4 as well. And Ratatoska seen overall as one of the easiest picks to pick in the jungle. Good control, good damage, good aggression.
He brings it all. I mean, he's Thor 2.0 is what Ratatoska is right now. It doesn't have the long-range poke that Thor does, but way better in the early game and has that game-changing ultimate in the middle of a team fight.
Do a game-changing ultimate. Zeus has been locked in for NRG here. Yammyn going to probably run that one back. We've seen him run it countless times before. Big thing with Zeus, though, is always about positioning, and that's one thing Yammyn's always got.
Always. Even if he isn't missing his skills, or he is missing his skills, which, let's be real, he probably isn't because it's Yammyn and he's not human. His positioning is always going to be on point. Love the Zeus selection here.
Khepri and Cabrakan, though, really nice front line for Valance Squad here. Khepri obviously in the support role. Cabrakan can flex to the jungle, can flex to the solo as well here, so we'll see which one he ends up into.
I'd imagine jungle seems to be a really good spot for Cabrakan, at least for this roster. I mean, Cherryo, known for playing Guardians in the jungle already, and Cabrakan has really, really strong early clear. A great up against Zeus because Zeus has no way to stop him from really jumping on top of him.
I do want to say that's a iRaffer Hercules, but it's a bit early to tell, but I have seen him do it in the past. He's one that he's always liked to go to with a Freya as well, bit of kill potential in that lane, potentially in the duo if he starts
EU is like so weird, man. They just do things like Hercules support and they're like, yeah, this is really, really good.
So weird we
and
win
then it
worlds.
works. Yeah, and then it works.
So weird we win worlds.
I guess.
Maybe like that's just the way it should be, right? Hunbat's Fafnir banned out by Valance Squadron, so they don't think necessarily the Hercules is in the Hunt support position by banning the Fafnir there, and obviously a quick hit Adapting's Hunbat, but you can't really ban Adapting out, so...
Well, Fafnir as well, even if that is support, I think it's more Valance Squadron covering their bases because Fafnir is so potent with those magical ADCs, the coerce buff, very, very strong. Something we haven't really seen since Fafnir was really, really meta, but I think that's Valance Squadron just covering their bases.
Well, the composition we've not seen for a little while is the double Hunter, double Guardian composition. That's what Valance Squad is going to be running here as well. More than likely Neith in the mid lane and her into the solo, into the dual lane, do we expect?
Could be, though Anhur does really, really well up against immobile mages in the middle lane. That pillar really makes life difficult for a god like Zeus, and tons of lockdown potential. The Cabrakan ultimate really synergizes well with Anhur's Impale if that is going to be Cabrakan in the jungle. You could see something along those lines, though Neith obviously the more standard hunter in the mid lane.
I'm more thinking of his up with Lawbster. I don't think I've really seen him play too much of the Anhur in the Pro League, but we have seen his Neith before as well, so it's sort of swayed that way. Fenrir, though, for Adapting and Geb, so it's going to be Hercules solo as well. A little bit on the magical heavy side, I want to say, in terms of damage for NRG Esports here, but with Fenrir in the jungle and the Hercules, it may balance out.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. I mean, Fenrir can go for the, we've seen Adapting go for the carry sort of build or the tanky sort of build. Yeah, 3 Guardians, why not?
3 Guardians? Yeah. I mean, no, we've seen two Hunters and a
warrior.
Somewhere in there.
No, we don't need warriors.
3 Guardians.
3 Guardians, 2 Hunters. Cool. Seems good.
I'm excited to see how this one works out. Surprising thing is they buffed Fafnir themselves. They could have taken it with those 2 hunters. That would have worked out well.
They could have.
The threat of Freya.
But Fafnir much better in support than he is in solo because obviously can just block the hammer and he won't be able to clear in the solo lane. Sobek, I'm anticipating going to be solo, and that it is. It's going to be for Xaliea.
Well, we do see another Hand of the Gods start again out of the supports over in Europe. NRG here. You can see iRaffer's going to start off with Hog. How are we feeling about this? Like, we've not really seen much Hog, and all of a sudden, some of the EU kids have started to pull it out this week.
Well, with Shell being less effective than it used to be, especially early on in the game, I think that's why we've seen a lot of supports head more towards meditation to try and turn some early laning fights and that sort of thing. But if you're not worried about the lane fights, and you aren't if you're drafting Geb Freya, you're not trying to fight anybody in lane, the Wrath is just there to make sure that if you are on time for your own buffs, you're going to be able to secure them.
Well, we'll see with that Hog as well if there's going to be any interesting start of energy in the jungle, because they could, in theory, start with a buff if they want to and try and burst that down a little bit quicker. But look at Valance Squadron's duo lane at the same time, is the trades in mid are not going Lawbster's way right now, really.
No.
The push power from Valance is already there with Funballer and BigManTingz in tow, already clearing the wave right under the tier 1 tower.
And this is what you see whenever you draft a low-pressure duo lane. They're going to walk right up to your tower. Lawbster, he's in some trouble here. Yammyn and Adapting both still level 1, so no chain lightnings or detonates, but very, very low on HP. He's already popped one of his health potions. It's still ticking right now, but it only got 1 left in the inventory.
Now the speed buff being invaded by by energy on the right-hand side, but on the left, it's Valance invading the red buff. But there's a Hog to defend against the invade for energy there. He's going to escalate Geb's experience a little bit more as well and deny the level 2 hit for Valance Squad.
Emilitoo's level 2, but he immediately eats the impale from Funball. Nice body blocks coming out from iRaffer. Not going to be able to secure a first blood here whatsoever. Typical iRaffer to take a red buff on Geb just because he secured it here in that one.
To be fair, who was going to get over there in time to clear up? His teammates
only
were
emilitoo
at the speed buff on the right, and emilitoo wants purple because
he wants it.
He wants more penetration. Why would he not want more penetration?
Probably wants more damage because, you know, penetration isn't as valuable in the early game.
I mean, but you know, like the tomato, you know, he's got a buff.
Yeah.
It's a similar color, you know, it's purple. And
I guess, yeah, you need some red to make purple, so.
Yeah, and he's also wearing an outfit that's quite purple looking as well.
It's true, it goes much better with his outfit.
And as a female in the gaming world, you want to make sure you coordinate.
Whoa, I think that's a little presumptuous, don't you think? Not all females want to have their outfits matching.
Maybe they don't want to have matching, that's true, good point. Taco did yesterday at the patch note, she was all in blue.
I'm matching today, my shirt matches
one cares about
my
you.
shoes.
No one cares about you. You are a woman though, but nobody cares about you. You set yourself up for that
Don't
twice.
assume my gender.
Oracles on the left-hand side are going to be taken down here by Valance. They're going to control both now. So a bit of pressure around that Gold Fury. It's one of the interesting things about these Oracles as time goes on here, I got a look at, is the fact that now you don't have to place a sentry ward there ever. It's just a normal ward because the team that owns it, owns the Oracles, they're going to have ward control. They're not going to throw a sentry there as well.
Well, they might because the other team may have sentried it, and so they're going to know either way, and it's about rotational sort of awareness if you know where the jungler is going to be. So I think that there is still quite a bit of merit to using Sentry Ward on that Gold Fury, but not as much as it used to be.
Adapting in mid lane, came around the back there, but didn't look to pressure an instant. He was looking to just clear the wave out mainly. You can see Yammyn was still dealing with a couple of creeps there, so he just rotates back towards the left-hand Harpies here. Going to get contested by Valance here and have to give them up to Cherryo and Lawbster as well.
And you can see Adapting does at level 5. Cherryo still only level 4, so you could see a little bit of an engagement in middle lane here, but instead Adapting looks like he wants to head over to this left-hand side. Funball and BigManTingz, both level 4 still.
Both collapsing on Funball, but rollout down for iRaffer. iRaffer still has a knockup available in a second. Going to wait for the leap, and Adapting goes straight in. World Weaver, however, will get a bit of poke damage onto Adapting, but Funball is still going on a wild ride, and he will fall down for first blood. Emilitoo and that purple buff gets credit for the kill.
Shout-outs to the 10 penetration on that purple buff there. Really, really great patience by Adapting. You see Funball immediately pop his purification beads as soon as Adapting goes up into that Ragnarok, but just waits it out. He knows he's got a ton of time because neither Funball nor BigManTingz is level 5. Neither ultimate is going to be available, so he just waits it out. Funball needed to be a little bit more careful with that and wait until he was actually picked up to use those beads.
I do like the choice from Xaliea to go for the Sobek overall, even though we had 2 Guardians already, but Sobek versus Hercules, it will just stalemate the lane in the early game, as well as have a bit of anti-heal in his kit to deal with the mitigate wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. That Sickening Strike going to bring 50% healing mitigation in that lane, going to make Dimi a little bit more susceptible to those ganks, as well as help out against emilitoo on the passive lifesteal that Freya has. Sobek's just a great really annoying Guardian. Like, he's going to be very, very annoying for emilitoo to deal with, because even if you get plucked and use your purification, that's still a little bit of time where you're not using your Pulse Irradiate combination. Just anything to make sure that you're waiting out that Pulse Irradiate cooldown and then trying to engage on the Freya. Anything that can disrupt her during that time.
Do we expect to see the same sort of standard start on Xaliea of like Breastplate of Valor build here, or would he look for more magical defense knowing that he's against a Freya and a Zeus?
It depends how much he wants to rotate in the early game. If he wants to really stalemate this lane and keep Dimi in lane, he's going to need some magic or physical protection. You can see just how much damage that Driving Strike is already doing to him in this lane. But if he wants to rotate early, if the game plan for Valance Squadron here is to look for some early Gold Furies with their double Hunter composition, then we could see him pick up that magical protection right away, or even go for something like a Hide of the Urchin to try and give him a little bit of both. But that's very, very risky coming out of the solo lane, because you can't really guarantee yourself those kill assists and stacks.
Well, invades on the left-hand side have kind of slowed down from both teams here, mainly from the side of Valance Squadron, as they were the ones looking to invade earlier on. But knowing now that Geb has a hog available to him, it makes it a little bit trickier now to look around these contestable objectives.
A nice whoop there from emilitoo, trying to make sure that they disrupt this Oracle, and they do. So the Oracle split up there. Each team gets one, therefore no team gets any sort of vision.
But at the same time, at least they both get gold and experience, so it denies the other one more than anything else. At least Valance secured one before NRG came in and stole it away. But a very nice whoop from emilitoo there to allow that to happen. Surprised both the supports are still in this lane, though. Yeah,
we've seen a lot of supports really roaming around the middle lane, things along that nature, but not this time around. More specifically, I'm surprised that BigManTingz is still in this lane, because I understand that iRaffer needs to be here to make sure that emilitoo gets through this early game where Freya is notoriously weak, but Anhur doesn't really need that help. Xaliea needs some help
right now, but luckily enough for him, Dimi is light out of mana, but adapting isn't. Lurking in the Water is already used by Xaliea, and he knows he was going to fall down there. Free kill for adapting thanks to Dimi's work.
And just pops that Ragnarok to get the extra movement speed. Not quite sure where Cherryo was, I believe. He rotates out of the middle lane, so adapting just kind of covering his own bases there, trying to get out of there. 2-0 in favor of NRG go the kills. And there you see just how important that physical protection could really be for Xaliea in the lane. Looks like he might be going for a Dynasty Plate Helm here. Could also be a Jade Emperor's Crown to reduce that physical power.
We'll see how he goes with the rest of his build as he continues on now, but good start for NRG so far. The gank, both kills go in the way of adapting, well, one for adapting, one for emilitoo, but it was adapting's gank on the left-hand side that got emilitoo that first blood, and Dimi's work, they're going to adapt in the second kill. So far, it's NRG just exploiting the singular small opportunities.
And this is classic NRG. They're not going to be the team that just rushes you down in the early game unless you give them the opportunity, in which case they can do that sort of play style. It's one of the things that makes NRG so scary, is that they're so versatile with how they can play the game, basically in any way you give it to them. And this time around, it's Valance just being very patient in the early game, so NRG's playing the exact same way. They understand that their late game composition is a little bit favored in this scenario. Yes, Valance Squadron does have the double Hunter, but they're both early to mid-game hunters.
Well, speed buff it looking to be invaded by iRaffer here. The hog already used there as well, and he will get away with the speed buff under his belt as well. Red buff and speed buff for support. iRaffer's having a great day.
This is the dream for a support player. He gets the two most fun buffs, I would say, in red and speed. Certainly speed buff.
I bet he wouldn't do that to adapting's buff, that's for sure.
No, that would be frowned upon, to say the least.
Valance Squadron pulling the Gold Fury here. Funballer going to aggro it, but with emilitoo around the corner, emilitoo's in a bit of an awkward position here. Still taking the trade, forced to ult in response to the Desert Fury coming up from Funballer, but he went back in.
He's got nowhere to go. Xaliea was around the backside, as was Cherryo. Great positioning there from Valance Squadron. They pick off emilitoo, and this could open up a Gold Fury option.
Teleport is available for Dimi here, but he's focused on the tier 1 tower. Instead, Geb goes pulled in towards Valance team, and Funballer will get credit for that kill, as well as Xaliea zones away the last two remaining members on this side from NRG.
But Valance, they don't look like they want to do the Gold Fury, because that teleport option from Dimi is still there. Instead, they back up, they spread out, they farm the map. 2 picks in that little engagement there, and that's one of the things that Valance Squadron's composition really excels at, is control. Just so much CC across the board.
Cherryo gets one of the Harpies, but he's so worried about the rotation, he's got to run. Ragnarok is used, and Cherryo's still in trouble, looking to run away. Good wall to zone Yammyn away, but it's not enough to stop the damage that came through from the team of NRG, and another kill for NRG Esports.
So there earlier on we saw Funball with just too early on the purification beads in response to the Ragnarok, but that time Cherryo was too late on the purification beads. He'd been picked up, turned around, and walked a little bit back, and then he used the purification beads, was too far out of position by that time, ends up falling to the damage from adapting.
One Oracle goes the way of Energy, the other one being contested. It will go Energy's way as well, thanks to the Hog from iRaffer. 3 Hogs so far I've seen utilized well as well. I mean, they got the red buff secured defensively, speed buff offensively, and once again, the Oracles there.
It's worked out so far, definitely worth the relic pickup at this stage. However, it really comes down to in the later stages of the game, is Energy going to have the necessary protection in relic form to win team fights? Because you see the shell already picked up by BigManTingz. He can go for a meditation, he can go for a sprint, anything along those lines. Sprint would be sick here, by the way, for Valance Squadron. Upgraded sprint specifically, because then you get the gas pedal on both of your hunters where they don't have the auto attack movement penalty anymore for the duration. So you could see that a little bit more team fight relic capability.
Left-hand side here is Funballer is going to get initiated on by emilitoo, adapting his support. Great pillar, though, will stop adapting in his tracks and deny him the option to continue the aggression.
Funball's Anhur is just, it's beautiful. It really is. He's so comfortable on this god. He always has been.
He looks relaxed in game, doesn't he? The way you see his position, the way he uses his abilities, he always seems very patient, relaxed, and never feels threatened. Even if he's losing, like he's still
I feel like every time Funball plays Anhur, he's just doing that little thing where he sticks his tongue out and like wiggles his fingers, like, you know what I mean? You guys can't see it, but like,
let's make references about how we're looking on camera when we can't be on camera.
Remind me in between games.
Okay.
I'll show everyone what Funball looks like.
No. 3-2 though. Gold Fury started by Energy for a second. It's actually to allow a pickup potentially onto BigManTingz. A lot of ultimates invested on BigManTingz, who now uses ult in response. He's still alive, but the rotation from Valance is now here.
Cherryo stuns out emilitoo, adapting very, very far forward. He's taking a lot of damage, and he will fall to the Desert Fury from Funball. On the front-hand side, Xaliea taking a lot of damage, not quite enough from the detonate, though.
And Dimi comes around the back now on high health, but a great impale from Funballer stops Dimi closing the gap for now. Cherryo still under pressure, driving, strike, and Earthbreaker both missed. Cherryo just trying to deal damage for the time being because he realizes he's not going to get away anymore. iRaffer credited with the kill, and in the end it was a 1-for-1. Both
junglers falling, but that favors Valance because of how far ahead adapting is. Getting that shutdown bounty on the 2-0-1 Fenrir worth a lot more than Cherryo.
In trouble going on alright. He didn't want to go on there. Plucked into an abduct. The shield to keep him up for a moment. The boulder from Dimi was trying to pick up Funballer, and Funballer would just leap away back to safety as iRaffer falls down.
So now it's definitely in favor of Valance Squadron because they get 2-for-1 in that engagement instead of just the 1-for-1, and you could see that the graphs just kind of even steady in Energy's favor right now, but this is around the time where Valance Squadron's comp really starts to do the majority of their damage in the middle stages of the game. This is where Neith wants to fight, this is where Anhur wants to fight, this is where Cabrakan wants to fight. This is the perfect time for Valance to start getting back and really finishing these second items, getting started on their third, and really take advantage of the composition they've drafted.
I think you can see that with Xaliea now being on this left-hand side still, going towards the red buff, now towards the Gold Fury. Cherryo on the right instead. I guess they're looking to get him a little bit more farm online and defend it, and then look to rotate him.
And that's exactly what you expect to see at this stage, but it's not even going to be the Gold Fury. It's just going to be the Oracles for now. Xaliea giving a little bit of a love tap to iRaffer as he flies by on that Geb. 1-2-1 for iRaffer, but the real impact, like you mentioned earlier, Hindu, has been with these Wraths. Hand of the Gods, it's no longer Wrath.
That's what I keep saying Hand of the Gods for. I've not been saying Wrath.
All right, well, we said both.
I said Hog.
Yeah, I know.
The whole time.
Yeah, you did. I didn't, but
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to pick on you. You just keep setting yourself up. I don't know why you do this to yourself.
You're right. It's my fault.
We're a live broadcast.
This is classic. This is classic abusive behavior, man.
Yeah, that's
blaming it on the victim.
That's me. Yeah,
victim.
It's all my own fault.
Disgusting.
For people being stupid.
Disgusting.
Always Hindu's fault. The game so far, though, has been pretty even, to say the least. I mean, Energy got off to a decent start in terms of getting that first blood, getting emilitoo a kill, getting adapting a kill. But then Valance have actually fought back in now that like we mentioned, the composition has really come online. 3 Guardians, 2 Hunters. Keeping the Hunters alive and protected is really the key.
Dimi around the backside. Cherryo has to use his Purification, but then he gets picked up at Ragnarok. Lightning Storm right on top of it, but not quite enough damage. Dimi, he's the one caught out now.
And now he's trying to get away, but the Desert Fury through the back of his head over and over again is enough to allow Cherryo to pick up the kill. Now Valance could look to rotate towards the Gold Fury with that man advantage, knowing Yammyn's ult is down too, but they have to respect the Geb and the Hog.
They have to, and that's why you see they're going right for him right away. They don't even want to do the Gold Fury, but the whoop from emilitoo is beautiful, creating some space for iRaffer to get out.
It was, but Cataclysm was used at the same time by iRaffer, so it was a bit of a juggle from Energy, not being clear with their communications there, what was getting used. Now iRaffer's going to go in with no Cataclysm to slow this down and try and steal it away. emilitoo going to actually banish away Xaliea, force it back, but the Gold Fury's gone down. Valance get it, and immediately they turn tail and look to get away.
iRaffer still wants to go in, but without Cataclysm, it's going to be difficult. Finds Xaliea, knocks him into a wall, but because of that pillar from Funball, no chance for NRG to chase him down.
That pillar was just to slow down the troops of NRG trying to invade the jungle there. And that's even the game up completely for the time being, with NRG maybe able to answer back in mid a little bit. I was going to say that, but then Lawbster's already back there underneath.
Yeah, this is really, really impressive play from Valance so far this game. And it's just being patient in the early game, understanding that with a Fenrir, with a Zeus, there's going to be a lot of pressure coming out of the middle lane for NRG. They weather that storm, and then as soon as they start to hit the power spikes, as soon as Lawbster finishes his Transcendence, as soon as Funball finishes his Transcendence, that's when Valance starts to pick their fights. The Voidstone for Cherryo came up big in that last engagement because he is able to weather the storm literally from Zeus and able to turn it around on Dimi, which really sets it all up for Valance to take that Gold Fury. Excellent recognition of what their composition excels at and playing around it.
Very interesting that all the hunters now, we've seen a lot of different build options with crit builds and everyone talking about Wind Demon and Poison Star, but since the nerfs, I was expecting to see more Devour's Gauntlets potentially come back, but instead, everyone seems to be going more towards the Transcendence now and penetration options.
Big power spikes. That's all, what it's all about with this Transcendence build. As well as, you know, Neith wants to use a lot of mana, wants to be more of a caster sort of hunter, and Funball, not so much on that Anhur, but Desert Fury going to hurt a lot whenever you build something like Transcendence, giving yourself quite a bit of power. He does go for the Aussie to give himself some more penetration and a little bit of lifesteal and sustain in that lane, but right now it's just all about getting that mid-game power spike through the Transcendence and then trying to roll with it through there.
Well, let's have a look at the player damage here if we can. I just want to see the player damage of the two teams now and see who's near the top. I expected it should be a Zeus in the grand scheme of things. I just want to see how the rest of Valance were matching up against the sort of later carries that NRG do have in this comp.
Yeah, and you can see Lawbster right there underneath Yammyn. And that's exactly what you expect to see from a Neith in the early game, especially one that's gone Bluestone. He's also gone for the Bumba's Mask.
He's going Fatalis.
It looks like he's going Fatalis, yeah. Penetration, that's the name of the game. He's not worried about the sustain like Funball is because he has that Unravel to make sure he's topped off in the laning phase. He's not too worried about any sort of poke he's going to get. Obviously, Anhur doesn't have that in-kit healing or sustain options, so instead going directly for some more attack speed, which is something that Neith usually lacks with these sort of penetration builds. But with the new Fatalis, could also see a Crusher coming out, some power, some cooldown reduction to help with that caster mentality as well as that attack speed.
Well, talking about some of the the builds coming out here, look at the relics from both the solo laners and junglers. They've both got different paths here overall.
Matching
One
up
team
though.
Gone for Sunder, the other team gone for Thorns, worried about the burst damage. The Sunder will allow these Guardians to have a little bit more of an impact in terms of burst damage here, but then Thorns could really come back to haunt them too.
I really like this Thorns pickup, double Thorns pickup rather. Hold that thought, BigManTingz right in the middle of the entire enemy team. Dimi plucks him back in, but he's so tanky already, only half HP.
Can't get enough damage off, instead he's taking more poke than he would like. Cherryo now going aggressive and adapting, but gets picked up by a Ragnarok, pushed towards emilitoo. He immediately beats to deal damage back, but Cherry's still in trouble here. Looking to run, and emilitoo really heavily committing onto Cherryo.
Oh, nice.
Gonna force seal out of Tingz.
Now Xaliea plucks Dimi back in, but he's the one in trouble. Cataclysm, knock up, there's the damage. Lawbster able to pick up a kill in response.
And that was a really good play. Now good pull again from Dimi on Tingz, and Tingz is going to be able to ducked away just in time. The banish was good from emilitoo, but he's got to be careful about damage responding. iRaffer there with a shield, and now Cherryo's on the run.
Cherryo, he's got the speed buff though. Doesn't have that first ability to give him some extra movement speed, but is just able to get out of the way of that chain lightning. Shoutouts to speed buff. He needed every single inch of movement speed.
And shoutouts to Dimi as well, zoning away both Funballer and Lawbster there to stop them trying to help and reinforce and defend Cherryo there. And just keep them on the back foot. It's a hard job for a Hercules to do against two hunters. One, it's manageable as a Hercules, but not against two.
No, very difficult. Dimi's been on point, but now he might be in trouble. Impale there from Funball, but the shield from iRaffer, excellent.
It's a matter of millimeters between abilities landing and missing. You saw the Spirit Arrow fired off by Lawbster there. That would have hit. Dimi was in more trouble there with the follow-up damage. At the same time as we saw the Chain Lightning from Yammyn, if that would have hit onto Cherryo there, the slow would have been impactful enough to potentially allow him to catch. Just millimeters in the game of Smite is such a big difference between finding kills and surviving.
All skill shots, man. That's what it's all about, basically. Of course, you got like Neith ult and stuff, but we're not going to talk about that. It's all skill shots here.
All skill shots.
Oh, yeah.
Oracle's about to be taken down by Valance again, just at the same time as the Gold Fury spawns. You can see 15 seconds on the clock for that as well. The Portal Demon is available, not really been looked at by either team, but it is something you can look to take if you can't contest the gold or you're not in position to do so.
It gives you a little bit of gold, not quite as much as the Gold Fury, but has about the same HP, so if one team's doing the Gold Fury, you know you can't contest, like you mentioned. That Portal Demon gives you a little bit of team gold, as well as that option for mobility around the map if you want to take a team fight. emilitoo.
Weaver burst damage just too good. He didn't have his beads available from the last engagement, and Valance recognize this and now make it a 4v5 potentially around this goal view if Xaliea does rotate.
And that's just great map awareness because there's no wards down there for Valance. They just saw emilitoo on that purple buff and immediately capitalized. It's a perfect time for them to get a pick like that. Gold Fury getting very, very low. It is secured there by Valance. Cherryo, he's not done. He wants to go in.
Trap Yammyn in a terrible corner there, and the investment into Yammyn's not as heavy as we expected. The ultimate from Yammyn will buy him some time as Cherryo's pulled back into danger, but that just sets up the tremors. The boxing is good as Adapting falls, and Dimi's still surrounded by 4 people.
4 dead for NRG. Valance, they start to really take a lead in this game. They're doubling up the world champion in kills. 3,000 gold in the lead, right around to be 4,000, but they've got a lot of objectives to take. They're not going for the middle tower. Instead, it's going to be that Portal Demon. No, it's going to be just Fire Giant.
Going straight for Fire Giant here. They're healthy enough to do this. iRaffer is still around.
Does Geb have the Wrath?
He still has his Hog available, I believe, at the moment. I can't tell because we've got the stats up right now, but the Fire Giant's at half health. The pull is not the greatest position coming out from Valance there. emilitoo has respawned with the Vanish. Valance still going in. iRaffer's trying to get in close if he can, but Xalia's doing great zone work to keep iRaffer away. Fire Giant.
No, NRG got it!
By NRG. I think that was emilitoo with the ultimate over the wall.
Valkyrie's discretion able to pick it up. What a huge turnaround. Pillar going to make sure that iRaffer falls, but what a big difference emilitoo makes there. NRG, they're the guy who shows up and just has the best luck at poker every time. Every coin flip, they win.
I guess, I mean...
Every coin flip around objectives.
There, but now the Portal Demon is the next coin flip. It's not been reset just yet. It has now. Berserker Barrage into the Ragnarok of... I was a Berserker Barrage. Men overall there. The damage coming out as well.
But it's NRG really coming back quickly in this game. I mean, this looked like Valance was going to be able to snowball off that one team fight win, but because of the Fire Giant steal from emilitoo, it means that Valance isn't able to stay sustained with that buff regen, and they go for the Portal Demon, but the rest of the team had respawned. And now it's going to be Portal Demon. It's going to be blue in the favor of NRG.
Wow, this game's turned its head again. And once again, NRG are making this happen for themselves with just continuing to pressure and find small wins. I mean, that was iRaffer and emilitoo versus the whole team of Valance. And they sneak away the Fire Giant under the noses. Then the fight unfolds and they get the Portal Demon as well.
Brutal. It's a brutal chain of events for Valance if you're rooting for them. If you're rooting for the underdogs, like many seem to be doing whenever anyone's playing NRG, really tough.
Whoever the underdog is, everyone roots for. It doesn't matter who they're playing. But
Yeah.
when you play the world champs, you get a few extra favors added your way as well. Of like, yeah, I'll root for them a little bit harder this game. You know, I may not like all the players on the team or something, but I want them to win.
Clearly, NRG doesn't care about any of that noise because they're just going to steal your objectives. They're gonna invade your jungle, whatever.
But it's a good response from NRG considering like they were ahead at points in this game as well. They were ahead at points against the Obey team, but they never found a way back in against Obey. Now they're starting to show their tenure in the league overall and knowing how to play against when they are behind and trying to siege up.
Xaliea, he's in the middle of 3 people right now. Tail Whip buys him enough space to get away, but Cherryo's made the rotations, finds 2 with his ultimate, but the shield from iRaffer saves emilitoo.
The Cactus was even bigger. Whoop onto 2. Funballer will be the focus here from emilitoo and Yammyn, but he immediately leaps away. In the jungle, Adapts is going to pick up Lawbster, and Lawbster's in a bit of trouble. The Aegis used to buy time, but he's still going to fall down. No. Luckily enough, BigManTingz there to save the day.
Tingz has been on point with these Scarab's blessings. Dimi going to eat the World Weaver, but the shield gets him out of there in time to immune that Xaliea pluck.
And then on top of that, the Desert Fury comes through, and Dimi gets a heal off it too, so NRG can just fall back for now. They don't get the tier 1 tower though, which is a big thing for Valance here.
Not yet, but Dimi's got teleport here, and with how many members are still healthy, only emilitoo has that Fire Giant, but that gives you enough of a tower presence to try and make a play here. That's one thing that NRG's composition is definitely lacking, is tower push.
Well, it's only emilitoo with that Fire Giant buff as well, and they don't have the greatest at killing towers here. Cherryo marches in, pushing them back for a second. Great pull from Dimi. Can't hit the driving strike because Cherryo, I believe, beats that to make sure he get pulled away. emilitoo's in trouble, but the impale shot from Dimi, he actually hits Dimi and not on onto emilitoo, keeping his teammate alive.
Huge chain lightning there from Yammyn, also going to dissuade Valance from getting in there. And now the fact that Funball's Desert Fury was on cooldown is huge there, because emilitoo falls if it isn't for the body blocks of the rest of his team, without that Valkyrie discretion, without that Aegis.
And now Valance can just hold the mid lane. 2 members went back to base there, and NRG give up the goose as well in the mid lane. They realize they can't continue the siege.
Again, it just comes down to that lack of tower push potential from NRG's composition. We see them, they really like emilitoo on this Freya, and for good reason, because he always has phenomenal games on it, but they always seem to be lacking this tower push, and you can see even if they are able to get Valance Squadron low, poke them out, get the ultimates out, they just don't have that ability to really get in there and get that tower.
Dimi's in mid lane here, was looking to wrap around the back onto Lawbster there, but the pluck coming out from emilitoo there didn't find the banish. If he would have, it could have been an awkward position for Lawbster to be in for the time being. It's fine. I understand the idea of picking Lawbster as well there, Aggro, because both his relics are still on cooldown too.
And he's had a great game, 2-0-9. That time, the last engagement, he gets saved by BigManTingz to make sure that that death column stays a nice, fresh 0. But second in the game in player damage last time we checked in. I love this build that he's gone for, giving him some kiteability with that Fatalis, as well as that anti-heal option with the Brawler's Beatstick. Plus, still, again, synergizes so well with this caster mentality that many Neith in the mid lane like to have.
Funballer as well, level 19, highest in the game right now, 6-2-5, involved in every single kill Valance Squadron have managed to make so far. And I think this is one of the years Funballer could actually start to shine now, because on the previous roster he was with Trixtank and Cuvo, he was overlooked by a lot of people because of the over tenure on that team, the other people that shone in the engagements there. Funballer never really got given the credit he sometimes deserves.
Absolutely, and like I said, on this Anhur specifically, always very, very strong.
Pressure again in mid lane. On from NRG on the left, adapting once again, looking at Funballer this time. Funballer's in a lot of trouble over here. Great driving strike from Dimi to slow it down. The Aegis used and the ult from BigManTingz, but Funballer does get back to safety in time. The leap was available. They will have to surrender the tier 1 tower, however.
Finally, NRG able to push Valance back enough to open up the door for that tier 1 tower. It was a hard-fought 500 gold, but they eventually get it. The good news for NRG here is that this is right as the Gold Fury is ready to be taken, and that poke is still very relevant right now.
Well, route onto 2 from BigManTingz, but all NRG are doing is just looking to zone away Valance from coming towards that Gold Fury, allowing their carries to bring it down. It'll take them a while with 2 mages, not too long though. Meanwhile, Valance, they can't do the Fire Giant because the rest of NRG, they just follow him into the jungle.
I think they wanted to get the Portal Demon, but it still hasn't respawned quite yet. You can see Valance trying to bait someone in. Dimi gonna eat that root, but nothing doing there. 2-man pull, but doesn't have that driving strike.
And the slow will allow them to close the gap on emilitoo. The walls drop down, emilitoo bursted, but emilitoo's still alive. Still pushing forward as emilitoo as well, as he gets a shield from iRaffer. A little bit early, so he can't prevent the CC, but iRaffer blocking most of the shots for him. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, adapting versus Funballer is a trade that's going on. Cherryo turns up to support.
That Thorns just makes it so that adapting can just box with this Hunter all day long. Aussie brings a little bit of lifesteal, yes, and that's what you want up against things like Thorns and Hide of the Nemean Lion, but Aussie's not that fully stacked Devourer's Gloves. It's not your Blood Forge, something that has a ton of lifesteal on it. It's just a little sprinkle of lifesteal, not enough to really punch through that Thorns damage.
And you can see adapting that. He's not going for Nemean here. He's going for what looks like his Midgardian mail, just to give himself the slow effect every single time he gets auto attacked against 2 hunters. That's great. Not only that, it also impacts Cherryo. He's going to be swinging a little bit as well.
Very true, and it's really good up against Fatalis, because it really shuts down that potential for both these hunters to chase you down. If you slow them, then they aren't going to be able to just stick on you with those Fatalis auto attacks.
Not over and over again anyway. So the Gold Fury goes the way of NRG. The game is still balanced right now between the two. You can see it's going to come down to more than likely a Fire Giant right now to get a lead. Crazy.
8 gold lead. There is an 8 gold lead at 27 minutes. That's just preposterous.
At this stage of the game, looking at Valance Squadron, a new team that's been put together, there's definitely question marks about NRG Esports here. Yeah. Is this the same team we've seen for Worlds, or is EU just getting stronger now?
I mean, when you constantly have the best team in the world to practice up against, then you're going to get stronger eventually. It's just a matter of time.
Paul Demon is pretty low, still aggroed at the moment, and it'll go towards NRG now as Geb still holds it. On the back, Adapts is causing confusion, going aggressive there onto Lawbster, who returns the favor back to him. Paul Demon still leashed. Reset again.
Yeah, still looking for something here, but the rest of NRG just back up, wait out that lurking in the water. He finds the pluck, but it's onto emilitoo. There's the Valkyrie discretion, trying to trade a little bit of damage, a lot of damage, back onto Funballer.
But Yammyn's ult is down, and so is emilitoo's. Now Valance Squadron get a small win there. They've still got ultimates available, and emilitoo was a little bit too deep there. Dimi's boulder's down. He has to fall back to Valance. 4v5.
Funballer just life-stealing off this speed buff, try to make sure he's healthy enough for the next engagement, because this is the best engagement Valance is going to get. No emilitoo, no Zeus ult, no Ragnarok, no boulder. They only have to worry about the Cataclysm.
Lawbster was sustaining the mid lane and clearing it out there, so now with him turned up at the pole demon too, the full might of Valance is here, and Dimi's going to feel just that right now. Surrounded multiple people, the Thorns is used, they're trying to hold off killing him till the Thorns is down, as Adapting now goes in on Dimi's ball.
Xaliea still looking for that charge break, gonna find it on iRaffer, no rollout, no Cataclysm, no nothing. Lawbster is gonna be able to pick him up 3-0 and 10 for the Papa.
3 Guardians, when you think about the amount of CC that just 3 Guardians can do over and over again, roots into stuns, into plucks, into stuns, into flips, into knockups, and there's no way through for energy right now. Adapting, plucked, tremored, forced out away from the root. Cherryo just ate all that damage from Yammyn while this was going on, and he's still alive, but just barely.
So low, but he baits in Adapting. He baits him perfectly. Cherryo's gonna live. Adapting won't. Now trying to make sure that Yammyn can't steal away that Fire Giant. No skills available here for Yammyn. Lightning Storm finally gonna be able to pick up the jungler, but it's gonna be a 1-for-1. Lawbster picks up Yammyn as well. 4 members with Fire Giant. Wow. Valance looking really, really good here.
And honestly, the composition, it was 3 Guardians. We've not really seen this before. We've seen 2 Guardians, 2 Hunters, and a Warrior more than likely, or even an Assassin thrown in. A magical Assassin is what we really saw back in the day, which was the likes of Ao Kwang. But this adaptation to bring on 3, the amount of control they bring in an engagement is insane.
And you know what it is that allows this sort of composition to work is how good Sunder is right now. It allows you to get the damage necessary that you're lacking with this sort of team composition to be able to punch through the priority targets at the right time. Dimi stays alive forever whenever he gets plucked back in from Xaliea right before that Fire Giant gets taken. He doesn't die if he doesn't get sundered right as soon as he's plucked in, and that's what really allows this composition to work.
Well, 30 minutes in, Valance are going to return to the pole demon after getting the Fire Giant. 4 members strong with that Fire Giant buff too, and Cherryo will come through that pole the moment it spawns, join up with his team, and to the right-hand side, it looks like Valance may be going.
Yeah, they're just going to be able to knock down these towers. Lots of towers still remaining, and that's a good thing for NRG that Valance is going to be able to get a Phoenix necessarily with this push unless they really choose to. But it's also a good thing for Valance because that's a lot of gold left up on the map. They're going to be able to finish their builds if they knock down all of these towers still remaining.
It's still a very close game between the two. There's a slight experience lead in some of the roles for Valance, mainly on their Hunters over their damage dealers have an experience lead. Pluck onto Dimi, works on the Abduct, I should say there, as Lawbster pressuring with Funballer as well, but it's going to force the Shield of iRaffer, which is going to be on cooldown for a few seconds now.
And that's very important because you can see Yammyn still doesn't have his purification beads.
And that's the key, getting the tier 2 tower is what they really wanted. Now they'll swing towards mid lane, potentially push the wave with them instead of trying to backdoor. You don't really want to fight energy under a tier 2 tower without some minions there.
No, especially when the game is this close, like you mentioned. Even though that Valance has the Fire Giant, this is a close game, and energy still has the capability to defend these tier 2s, so you want to make sure you have that wave to remove those backdoor protections from the tower.
Pressure in mid lane. Funballer gets a good impale onto emilitoo, going to force beads there by the looks of it as well. Emilitoo's beads already down before the fight. Dimi going to drive and strike BigManTingz away from going aggressive, but Cherryo's not having any of that. He's straight in there, Sunshine. Going to get the Aegis off, and now Xalia's going to pick up emilitoo because of that, as the Aegis was now down. Dimi pulls Lawbster into an awkward spot. Lawbster's one hit from death. The trucker horn is pulled, and he'll fall down, but Funballer is still going.
Dimi's going to have a big shield there and the Thorns, but Funballer just chasing him down with those Fatalis auto attacks. He's going to get double digits in the kill column. 10, 2, and 8 for the Hunter for Valance Squadron.
Are they going to lose this game as well?
Like they could. They still got 2 towers up on the left-hand side. This Titan's going to be pretty tanky here, but Yammyn needs to stay alive.
Well, they've got no real minions with them as well, so yeah, maybe swing to the left and get some there. Oh, they're looking to the right for the Phoenix here. Yammyn, no ultimate available for quite some considerable time here. The Chain Lightning now down. He can only really just watch this. Can't really stop them from taking this Phoenix either. They're just 3 Guardians. They can just rotate in and out, and who takes damage with the Fire Giant buff, regenerating the other ones.
Honestly, NRG has BigManTingz to thank there. Just a little bit too grouped was Valance, and so he wasn't able to get the Scarab's Blessing onto Lawbster. It accidentally hit Xaliea underneath that tier 2 tower. If Big Man's able to revive Lawbster, that's probably game. 5 against 1, even with all the towers up. That's probably game in favor of Valance. A little bit unfortunate. Big Man's been so great with these ultimates, though. You got to give him a lot of credit this game.
Well, the God Furies has respawned NRG, are heading in that same direction. I don't think that they want to go too aggressive over to it, though, right now. They just want to make sure they pick up that red, give it over to Yammyn for a little bit more damage. He does have a Rod or 2 Hootie online now on that Zeus in the mid lane, which can come into play now in the next engagement for the extra burst he's going to need to bring down these Guardians.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been the only one who's been doing any sort of effective damage. Emilitoo a little bit above Dimi in terms of damage, but it's really just been tickling the front line, and it's been because of the positioning of Valance as a whole. That's been the most impressive thing to me. Is Lawbster has been so great with his positioning all game, sitting right at the edge of that Spirit Arrow range, waiting for CC and following up beautifully. Cherryo has always been in the front line, always been in the right position. Very, very impressive team play from Valance, which is something you usually don't see from a team that's really been together this long.
Looks like NRG want to contest this Gold Fury and push them back. Rapid rolls straight in, pushes BigManTingz back. Cherryo around the corner, gets knocked up, but he's going to trap emilitoo in a wall. The Whirlweaver comes through too, adapting to the backside, looking for pressure onto Funballer. Funballer, Desert Fury's back to safety and adapting up 4 down first.
The Frenzy is just doing so much work right now for Valance. Yammyn, he's very low as well. Emilitoo gets blown up by Funball while Cherryo finishes off Emilitoo.
And that could be a Decisive. Rapper's running for his life right now. Funballer is still trying to give chase as well with the Fatalis. His Pillar's going to be available soon. That should be Rapper dead in a moment of seconds. Decisive, the way of balance. And NRG Esports lose another game.
0-3 for NRG so far this season. I mean, season 4, you know, we knew it was going to be different. We knew it was going to be crazy, but 0-3 for NRG?
I've got to look at that composition and go, Valance Squadron just drafted what they wanted, and NRG did not expect 3 Guardians, 2 Hunters. I think that was the key.
I agree with you. I mean, they just looked very, very comfortable with that composition, and like I mentioned, the positioning of the team as a whole was the thing that was so impressive to me. You never saw Funball and Lawbster in the same place ever, unless they were incredibly safe and someone had been plucked back in by Xaliea, and we really didn't give Xaliea a whole lot of credit in that game, but that so many team fights set up by that charge prey out of him.
Well, let's go